are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for all right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final.
Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth, and it's great to have you guys here on this Tuesday, May 28th. We have a lot to talk about on the show today. Before I get into that, just want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate, get your comments recognized, make sure to go to the following link. That is gsmcpodcast.net. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is gsmcpodcast.net. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker at the bottom of the show segment down below. So, with that being said, let's get into what we are going to talk about for today. So, we're going to start off the show. Now, the first topic, this is something that I saw. It was an Instagram post, so I thought it would be interesting to do a segment on it. And that is talk about the quarterbacks that have the best chance to win their second Super Bowl in 2024. And that is going to be between Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, and Matthew Stafford. So I'll talk about those three guys, who's least likely to do that, who's most likely to do that. So we'll get into that at the start of the show. I think that'd be a fun topic to discuss. Then in the second part of the show, I'll continue my schedule breakdown for each team in the NFL. So today we'll be doing so we're starting in the NFC North now. So I'll be talking about the Lions' schedule, go over them, some of their intriguing matchups. I'll give you my early win-loss prediction for them. So that'll be the second part of the show. Third part of the show, we'll talk about Lamar Jackson, his recent comments on the opening matchup with the Kansas City Chiefs, and what he had to say. Then in the fourth part of the show, we'll talk about Kayvon Thibodeau, the New York Giants, wanting to pursue that all-time sack record. So I'll get into that. And then in the final part of the show, we'll talk about Patrick Queen, the linebacker who went from the Ravens to the Steelers, and his reasoning for going and signing with the Steelers. So that's the rundown for the show today. So let's get into the first topic, which is talking about who has the best chance to win their second Super Bowl in 2024. And if you probably could tell, sound a little nasally today. The cold is still around, so just bear with me. But it is what it is. So let's get into the first topic, though. And I was kind of going back and forth with who has the best chance, but I could tell you who has, at least in my opinion, who has the least likely chance to win their second Super Bowl this year. And obviously, when you talk about these three guys, Rodgers and Matthew Stafford, you know they're going to be in the Hall of Fame. Russell Wilson, I mean, I still think he should be considered to be a Hall of Famer. It's just the way things have changed since he left Seattle, that's kind of hurt his legacy. But I think all three of these guys should make it into the Hall of Fame. But now they're all on different teams. You know, Rodgers is down with the Jets. Stafford did win his only Super Bowl with the Rams after spending his entire career with the Lions. And, of course, Russell Wilson won his Super Bowl with the Seahawks during the 2013-2014 season. And Matthew Stafford is the guy that's won the most recent Super Bowl out of the three. But this is what I'll say. I think Russell Wilson, he's least likely to win a Super Bowl in 2024 out of the three. And I think the Steelers can be a good team this year. I like what they've done this offseason. I think the defense is, of course, still really good. They addressed the offensive line during the draft, and I like the playmakers that they have on that side of the ball as well. But I've said this all along. I think the Steelers are still getting the Russell Wilson from Denver. You're not going to get the one from Seattle. Now, could he turn back the clock? Maybe. I think there's always a possibility, but I think you're going to see more of what you saw out of him from when he was with the Broncos. And I think also, not even just that, the conference and the division that he's playing in. It's going to be very hard for the Steelers to kind of navigate through that because, you're going to have to deal with Patrick Mahomes. You're going to have to deal with Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. There's a lot of guys, a lot of quarterbacks that are just better. C.J. Stroud. You're just going to have to deal with. You're going to have to deal with them and get past them. And I just don't think that Russell Wilson at this point in his career and with the Steelers, I don't think they'd be able to get it done. Now, I think the Steelers can make the playoffs, but I just think the pathway is too tough for the Steelers. And I just think that combined with Russell Wilson declining over the last couple of years, even though last year was a step up from the previous season, I just think he's least likely to win his second Super Bowl in 2024. And I think most people would agree with that. Now, this is where it gets tough between Aaron Rodgers and Matthew Stafford because I think Aaron Rodgers has the better team right now than Matthew Stafford. I think the Jets have the better defense, or the better defense of the two, especially when you look at the Rams and, they lost Aaron Donald and they did go all in on defense during the draft. They drafted I think the edge rusher out of Florida State. They did address the defensive side of the ball. And they signed a couple of corners this offseason as well. But for me, I still think the Jets defense is better. But Aaron Rodgers is 40 years old. He's coming off of a significant injury with the torn Achilles. He's 40 years old. And I trust the Rams coaching staff more than I do the Jets. Now, I know I've said if Rodgers is healthy, he is going to block out those deficiencies. So it's kind of hard. And I think offensively, like I said, defensively, I would say the Jets are better. Offensively, I'd probably lean towards the Rams. Their receiving core is better. Running game, it's kind of a toss-up. Because Kyron Williams was great last year. Breece Hall towards the end of the year played like one of the best running backs in the NFL. So that one's kind of a toss-up. Both running games are solid. But I would take Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua over Garrett Wilson and Mike Williams. So it is tough. And the Jets play in the AFC. And it's similar to what I said about Russell Wilson and the Steelers. It's a logjam of teams that you have to deal with. I feel like in the NFC it's not as loaded. So honestly, I was going back and forth on it. I'm going to say that Matthew Stafford has the best chance to win his second Super Bowl this year. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm down on the Jets because I went against Rodgers. But I just feel like when it comes to the Rams, like I said, trust their coaching staff more. Quarterback's not coming off of a major injury from the previous season. And of course my camera decides to glitch out on me. That's nice. I guess I don't know. I guess that's maybe a sign that I shouldn't have picked the I shouldn't have picked Stafford. I should have picked Rodgers instead. Is that what the universe is telling me? I don't know. All right, of course that didn't work. Yeah, I don't know what that and that didn't do anything. That's nice. Yeah, love when this happens. It's always a good time. But yeah, like I said, Stafford's not coming off of a major injury. Played really well last year. Man, it's still man, this is terrible. It's never been it's I don't know. But yeah, Stafford's not coming off of a major injury. And like I said, I like the playmakers on offense better. Conference isn't as loaded in the NFC, although, yeah, you're going to have problems with the 49ers, the Lions, the Eagles. Okay, now that just, I really don't know what's going on. But I could see a pathway for the Rams to kind of, be that sleeper team that, could somehow make it back to a Super Bowl. Now, again, the Jets can make it to the Super Bowl. I think they have the better overall team. Well, I would take their roster collectively with the defense over the Rams. But I just think with the Rams being in the NFC, I think their pathway to a Super Bowl is easier. But yeah, you're going to have to go through teams like, you're going to have to go through teams like the Niners, like I said, the Lions. The Eagles are going to be better. The Packers. Yeah, there's going to be teams that are going to give you a problem. But I feel like the Rams, they could stack up against anybody. So, but that's my opinion. So, like I said, I think it probably goes Russell Wilson to Aaron Rodgers, and then I think Matthew Stafford, he has the best chance to win a second Super Bowl this year. So, but I think it's close between Rodgers and Stafford, and Russell Wilson's kind of further down at 3. But that's my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think. Who do you think has the best chance to win their second Super Bowl this season, or just overall? Like, who could win at least one more Super Bowl before they call it? I'd probably still pick Stafford, because Rodgers, who knows? This could be his last year. Russell Wilson, this could be his last chance to be a starter. So, but let me know what you guys think in the comments. Also, with Russell Wilson and how the last couple of years went in Denver, do you still think he's Hall of Famer, or he's got to kind of, get his career back on track? I feel like from what he did in Seattle and winning a Super Bowl, I feel like he's still Hall of Famer. But like I said, legacy is kind of taking a hit from these last couple of years. But with that being said, now we are going to take our first break of the show. When we come back, we will break down the Detroit Lions schedule for 2024, and I'll give you my early win-loss prediction for them. So, with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast, and for the second part of the show, we are going to break down the Lions' 2024 schedule. I'll give you my early win-loss prediction for them. Again, I apologize for the camera issues. I don't know what was going on there, but hopefully we don't have to deal with that for the remainder of the show. But yeah, I mean, that's been a common occurrence on the show. I feel like lately it's been better, but once in a while the camera flares up and, just got to deal with it. But at least I have my backup camera on my laptop, so whenever that does happen, then I just switch over to that. So, all right, but let's get into the second topic of the show. Talk about the Detroit Lions. Last year was solid for them. Made it all the way to the NFC Championship game. Unfortunately, lost to the 49ers. But they're looking to go further and maybe make it to a Super Bowl themselves. So I know we just talked about them. The Rams. They will be taking on the Rams Sunday night, Week 1. Matthew Stafford once again returning to Detroit. That was one of the best playoff games from last year, was when these two teams met. It was a 1-point game. Lions squeaked by. And I'm going to be honest, I actually am going to take the Rams to upset the Lions. I'm going to do that. They're going to get their revenge for the playoff loss from last year. I don't know. Just take a little bit of a risk there. But again, things could change. But I'm actually going to I'm going to give the Lions the loss there. Then they take on the Bucks, another team that they faced in the playoffs in the next round, in the divisional round, and that was a good game as well. I think the Lions get back on track here. They win that game, so they even their record at 1-1. At the Cardinals. Cardinals could be an interesting team because I don't know what to expect out of them. Because, I mean, they got a healthy Kyler Murray, and I think with him back in the fold for a full season, I think the Cardinals are going to be a more competitive team. So I don't really know. I don't know what to expect out of them, but I do expect them to be more competitive. But I think still you're looking at them being like a third or fourth place team in their division. I like the Rams and the Niners better. They could be battling it out with Seattle for third place in the division, but I think the Lions are the better team, so I would give them the win there. Now they take on Seattle the following week at home, and these last couple of years, when these two teams have played against each other, I mean, it's been shootouts both times. Last year, the game went into overtime, and Tyler Lockett scored the game-winning touchdown. Whenever these two teams play against each other, it's a lot of fun. But the Lions have been on the losing end both times. So I'm going to say not this time. They are going to win this game. So I'm going to give them a win. Then they take on, Week 5 they have a bye. So that's why Week 5 is not there. Week 6, they take on the Cowboys in Dallas. Now, this is an interesting game because if you remember from last year, there was that whole situation on the 2-point conversion late in the game when the Lions got the 2-point conversion and went up by 1, but the referee said that the tackle did not report eligible when you could see that he went over to the ref. But it was just very confusing. Or I forget specifically what it was, but I don't know if they thought it was another player that reported eligible instead. I don't know. It just happened. I mean, this happened in December? It was an interesting situation. But yeah, the Lions should have won the game. They ended up losing by a point. I think this time they beat the Cowboys. And I just think for me the Lions are the better team. So I think they get revenge for that. Then in Week 7 they take on the Vikings. curious to see how the Vikings quarterback situation is. If J.J. McCarthy is starting from week 1, or are they going to ease him into it? How is the quarterback play going to be at this point? But again, I still think the Lions, to me, are the better team. I'm going to say the Lions win this one. So right now the Lions only have 1 loss. They take on the Titans at home. Again, I think the Lions are the better team. So I'm going to take the Lions to win that. Now, I think they'll split with Green Bay. So I'll give them a loss in Lambeau. And then I'll also give them a loss to the Texans. So now that gives them that gives them 3 losses. Jacksonville, I think they win that. I think the Colts game could be interesting. But I see them winning that as well. I think they also will split with the Bears too. So that'll give them 4 losses. And then I think they'll lose to the 40. Well, actually, I was going to pick them to actually get revenge on the 49ers. Sorry, camera's acting up again. I just want to fix that. Yeah, it's just, I don't know what, I really don't understand what is going on with it today. Just, it's just between that and the, my cold here that I'm experiencing. Got to try to figure it out here, but I don't get it. I know now I'm even smaller on the 1-person graphic here. And you're probably thinking, well, maybe you should invest in a new camera. No, I think oh wow, that just, yep, then we got more Spider-Verse stuff. This is crazy. I've never had it be this bad. Cuz I have this adapter that I use that I plug in the camera and my ring light into the same thing. And usually, okay, that did absolutely nothing. Yeah, I don't know what's going on today. Again, I apologize, folks. This is just, it's not my day today with the issues we got going on with the camera, but you know, I mean, the good thing is we still got audio. You know, so I'm not really complaining. Audio is the biggest thing. So, okay, that just did not want to do anything. But so I basically I have the lines around, I got them around I would say 12-13 wins. That's what I would say. Because I actually was going to pick them to upset the 49ers. Kind of get their revenge for the NFC Championship game loss. I feel like they're on that redemption arc where they're just going to beat the teams that they lost to, well, some of the better teams that they lost to last year. So, but that's just, I mean, that's my opinion, you know, so but, okay, all right, I think we should be good. Yeah, again, I don't know what's going on, but, yeah, so I got them at around 12-13 wins, maybe a top 2 seed, maybe the 1 seed, who knows. But yeah, I think they're a top 3 team in the NFC. I expect them to be really good. So, but let me know what you guys think. How many games do you think the Lions will win in 2020? 2024. So before we go to break, just want to remind you guys once again to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to go to the following link. That is GSMCpodcast.net. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is GSMCpodcast.net. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker at the bottom of the show segment down below. So, when we come back from our second break of the show, we will discuss Lamar Jackson and... I don't know why... Okay. We will discuss Lamar Jackson and some of his comments that he made regarding the Week 1 matchup with the Kansas City Chiefs. So we will get into that when we come back from our second break of the show. So, with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the third part of the show, we are going to talk about Lamar Jackson, his recent comments on the opening matchup with the Kansas City Chiefs. And some interesting comments, because he kind of downplayed the opening game. This is what he had to say. He said, "I really don't care who we play. It really didn't matter. At the end of the day, our goal is to make it to the Super Bowl. We lost to them in the playoffs. Just us beating them in the regular season doesn't really do anything. It just helps us keep stacking up wins to hopefully make it to the playoffs. If anything, to try to get in that same position again and hopefully be successful. It really doesn't matter who we play in the first game. Obviously, it's the Chiefs, but I really didn't care." So, I do like what he said, actually. Because, yeah, I mean, it is just week 1. And a lot of things can happen from that matchup. You know, you never know where you're going to end up towards the end of the year. And I think when it really is going to matter is when if you end up matching up against them in the playoffs. Because that's really when things are on the line. Now, this game could have major implications down the line, because what if one game separates these two from getting home field advantage or not? But then again, you could say, well, the Ravens last year, they had home field advantage, and the Chiefs went in there and beat them. So does home field advantage really matter to the Chiefs? No. But again, you still want to play those games at home. But yeah, I mean, I agree. There's a lot of games to be played. You want to stack up wins, and listen, the ultimate goal isn't to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. The ultimate goal is to get to a Super Bowl and win it. Now, you could beat the Chiefs to get to the Super Bowl. But yeah, the Super Bowl is what you ultimately want to get to. And the Ravens have a great chance to do that. It's just, like for many other teams, the problem is the Kansas City Chiefs, because they are always standing in someone's way. And Lamar Jackson has had a problem against the Chiefs for his whole career. They only have one win against the Chiefs, which the Chiefs gave the Ravens that win from the game in 2021. But still give the Ravens credit. They won the game. But the Chiefs gave that game to them. So if they don't win that game, Lamar Jackson is winless against Patrick Mahomes. Now, could this year be different? They got Derrick Henry now in the fold. And Derrick Henry gives teams problems. A lot of teams problems. Has given the Chiefs problems over the years as well. And I'm excited for this Week 1 matchup just to see him and Lamar Jackson right off the bat against the defending champions. I think it's going to be a fun game. And this was a great spot for him to end up in, because the Ravens are a team that loves to run the football. And again, having that backfield with Henry and Lamar Jackson, it's going to give many teams fits. It just is. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do, what they can accomplish. But they have a true test against the Chiefs to start off the season. So, I mean, like I said, I like what Lamar Jackson had to say. I think it's one game. It's at the start of the season. And there's plenty of football left to be played after that. And if you lose to them, well, you're going to see them again. So you could get another crack at them in the postseason. So, but I feel like Lamar has never really come out and seemed like he's been bothered by constantly losing to the Chiefs. But I feel like internally it definitely does have to bother him. That, yeah, you've beaten this team once, but they gave that game away to you. They gave that game away to you. Like, I feel like it's got to bother you a little bit that you can't beat them. But they're not the only team that has that problem. The Bills have that problem as well. These are teams that consistently make the playoffs. Well, the Ravens, they did make the playoffs the year before last year, but Lamar Jackson didn't play. Lamar Jackson, most of his losses have come against Patrick Mahomes in the regular season. But still, like, they have a problem beating the Chiefs. You know, so... But the Bills, I mean, they have a problem beating the Chiefs in the postseason. Can't do it. But in the regular season, it's not an issue. And then for the Bengals, like I said, if they're healthy, I mean, I think they could. I think they have the best chance. I really do believe that. So, you know, we'll see. We'll see what happens. You know, the season should be a lot of fun. But I mean, right now, I think the Chiefs could do it again. You know, win another championship. Like, they are really set on winning another championship. So, we will see how it goes. But I think there's... I mean, and I haven't really... You know, the Texans they're going to be better. I still look at the Browns as being a good team. There's a lot of teams you could look at. I mean, the Jets, if Aaron Rodgers is healthy. But it's going to be interesting. So we will see how it all goes. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it when talking about this. Again, let me know what you guys think about what Lamar Jackson had to say. Do you think the Ravens could finally get over that hump and, beat the Chiefs? What are your early predictions for this Week 1 matchup? Should be a lot of fun, like I said. So we're going to take our third break of the show. When we come back, we'll talk about Kayvon Thibodeau pursuing the all-time sacks record with the Giants. So that's what we will do when we come back from our third break of the show. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the fourth part of the show, we're going to talk about Kayvon Thibodeau of the New York Giants and his desire to break the all-time sacks record. And I clicked on the wrong link. That's for the next segment when we talk about Patrick Queen. But yeah, it's basically held by former Giants legend Michael Strahan, of course, 22.5 sacks, and T.J.Watt of the Pittsburgh Steelers, who tied him. And Kayvon Thibodeau is looking to, break that record. And I think this is what he said. Yeah, this is what he said. We're just going to start this off. If you were wondering, I'm going for the record, so don't ask. He said jokingly via NJ.com. Every year I'm here, I'm going for Michael Strahan's record. Strahan held the sack record alone for 2 decades after setting the mark during his 2001 Defensive Player of the Year campaign. It was 2021. T.J.Watt tied that record while taking home the same award in 2021. So 20 years later. Thibodeau had a career-high 11.5 sacks in 2023. Has arguably his best opportunity to date to chase history. And the reason for that, I think he could, have a breakout year and, get close to that number because of what the Giants did this offseason, bringing in Brian Burns to go along with him and Dexter Lawrence. Like I've said, I think the Giants' defensive line is something that fans could look forward to watching. At least that's the one intriguing thing going into the 2024 season is the Giants' defense. Because right now the offense, I don't know what to expect out of the quarterback. I mean, Daniel Jones is confident that he's going to start, but how effective is he going to be? There's no more Saquon Barkley. Devin Singletary had a good year last year, but he's not Saquon Barkley. I mean, you got to be excited, I guess, about Malik Neighbors and what he can accomplish. But I think the more enticing aspect of the team is the defense. And maybe that's what can carry the Giants in 2024 is their defensive line and wreaking havoc on opposing quarterbacks. Creating turnovers, giving the offense short field, them cashing in. Again, I had the Giants going 6-11, 7-10. Getting around 6-7 wins I'm not expecting them to be a very good team. But the defense could wreak havoc. And now when you add Brian Burns into the fold, it's going to be, it's going to give some teams, a headache because who are they going to have to double team? Because if they double team Brian Burns, well, then that, gives Thibodeau an opportunity to get after the quarterback with the one-on-one matchups. And on top of that, you got Dexter Lawrence coming up the middle, too. So, this is something that I am looking forward to as a Giant fan, is this defensive line and what it can accomplish. And the Giants really, for the longest time now, they've been trying to get back to how they were with those teams, with Strahan, Justin Tuck, O.C. Umenyiora, JPP, all those guys. They're trying to get back to that point. And I feel like they are getting to that point. Because 2016 was kind of like that patchy year where they got Olivier Vernon and Snacks Harrison. And yeah, the Giants went 11-5, but they were a fluky 11-5. Unfortunately, they just were. And that reared its ugly head once they went to Green Bay, took on the Packers, and lost 38-13. And that was Eli Manning's last playoff start. And that was the boat trip game. I feel like the Giants are getting back to that point with that defense. Defense is going to be good. Now, we got to see now how the new defensive coordinator is with Wink Martindale leaving. Because that whole situation still... The unraveling of that relationship between Wink and Brian Daboll, it still doesn't really make... I mean, it's just kind of odd how it just all unfolded. But because of the success that they had in 2022, it's like, what happened? But yeah, that's what can happen when you do a complete 180 from the previous year. Now the Giants, I would say, did finish the season strong, but now it's a new year. Momentum is not necessarily always going to carry over to the next year. So, but like I said, I expect this defense to give people problems. It's just, for me, is the offense going to be able to generate points? And I just don't have confidence in that because I don't have confidence in the quarterback situation. But, when it comes to Kayvon Thibodeau, though, he's a good player. And I know, and some people, are all over him early on, like, oh, this guy's a bust. It's just, but he's a good player for them. And he's still only, let's see, he's going to be 24 in December. I mean, there's still room to grow. And yeah, I mean, like, he went from 4 sacks his rookie season to 11.5 sacks in 2023. 2 forced fumbles in 2022. 3 in 2023. Assists went up. Solo tackles were down a little bit. 33 to 26 then last year. So yeah, 50, around the same total tackles. 50 last year, 49 the previous season. But yeah, I think his sack numbers will go up. I think his sack numbers will definitely go up. Because now you're bringing in another pass rusher in Brian Burns. Actually, and let's see what Brian Burns' stats were. So, yeah, he had 8 sacks last year. And then he had 12.5 in 2022. They're going to be able to feed off each other. And actually, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it. But I wanted to look up what their sack total, like just the Giants as like a team. What were their sack totals? So the Giants had 85 sacks during the 2023 NFL regular season. But I wanted to see where... Oh, Giants got sacked the most by a team in 2023 with 85 sacks. Yeah, that's not what we wanted. But hopefully the offensive line is improved, so they aren't one of the most sacked teams in the NFL. We want to see them get sacks, not their own quarterbacks get sacked. But, yeah, I mean, the pass rush should be improved. And I mean, we'll see how it goes. I mean, it's just they play in a tough division with the Eagles and the Cowboys. I mean, the gap is wide between them and those other two teams. So, and those teams got better quarterbacks and better offenses. And we'll see how Washington is. I mean, I know I didn't give them a lot of wins when I did their schedule breakdown, but I mean, if Jaden Daniels is the guy, then the Giants have the fourth or ranked last when it comes to their quarterback situation. I probably would still rank them last. And Jaden Daniels hasn't played down yet in the NFL. But yeah, it's just going to be another down year for the Giants. And you were hoping after 2022 that this was like their turning point. Now, I still think that they're going to get this right and they'll start building back up. But, I mean, until they get the right quarterback, they're kind of going to be, a third, fourth place team in their division. Now, Dak Prescott, he might not be on the Cowboys after this year. And we'll see what the Cowboys end up doing. But, like I said, the gap is still wide between them, the Eagles, and the Cowboys. So, but let me know what you guys think about Thibodeau. Do you think that he could break the all-time sack record in 2024? Let me know in the comments. So, when we come back from our final break of the show, we'll talk about Patrick Queen of the Pittsburgh Steelers, his reasoning for signing with the Steelers, and that is what we'll talk about when we come back from our final break. So, with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast, and for the final part of the show, we're going to talk about Patrick Queen and his reasoning for signing with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, he took less money to sign with the Steelers, and this is what he had to say. So he said, from all the 15 teams that I was talking to, it came down to like 5 at the end. This is what he told Steelers DB regarding his journey in free agency. It's just like the 5 teams in the mix. Some of them were offering some $17 million per year. After that, it was like I have a chance to either go win or I have a chance to get paid. For me, the difference was like 4 or 5 million. I'm looking at it like I've never been on a losing team before, and then I also don't want to be part of anything being rebuilt because I'm trying to win now. Really trying to win right now, get that out of the way, and then get paid later. If the Steelers truly did underbid for Patrick Queen, they were lucky to lure him to the black and gold thanks to winning culture and sustained history of defensive excellence. He's coming off of a season, Patrick Queen, with a career high 133 tackles. And he's getting paired up with T.J.Watt and also another solid pass rusher for them, Alex Highsmith. So he currently slots in as the 5th highest paid linebacker on a per year basis with an average of $13.6 million. But yeah, it is. I was trying to look into like what other teams were pursuing him. I didn't really, at least like, I only scratched the surface, so I didn't really like take a huge dive into the other teams that were interested. But I guess the teams that really had interest were teams that just weren't in as good of a position as I guess the Steelers. But we'll get into that in a second. He also did say that week the Steelers, talking about playing the Ravens, that week the Steelers-Ravens week is definitely the most hyped week. It's intense. Everything is at high risk. At practice, coaches are screaming and fussing and this and that because everybody knows what type of game it's going to be. Being on this side now, it's going to be the opposite. So now I'm going to be on this side doing the same stuff. I know they expect all that stuff now. Honestly, I just can't wait. For me, he also said, for me, just solidifying myself as a top 3 linebacker in the NFL, detailing. He also detailed his individual hopes for 2024. He said, there's some people saying top 3, some people saying top 10, some people saying top 7, whatever it may be. So my job this year is just to solidify top 3. No order, I don't care, as long as I solidify top 3. That's what my goal is, and what comes with is all Pro Bowl tackles, turnovers. I think turnovers is the biggest thing, getting my hand on the ball, whether that's forced fumbles, interceptions, whatever I got to do. So he had a lot to say, and I did, like I said, I wanted to touch upon what he had to say with the Steelers. He wanted to win. And when it comes to the Steelers, I think the Steelers could definitely make the playoffs. And I talked about them earlier in the show when we were discussing who could win their second Super Bowl, who's most likely to win their second Super Bowl in 2024. I think the Steelers they're still below some teams. Now, they have an elite defense, led by T.J.Watt. There's no question about it. And then you got Minka Fitzpatrick back there. Like I said, Alex Highsmith is a good player. Cam Hayward on the defensive line. You know, the defense is solid, and it's been solid for years. The problem has been their offense. And it seems like when the Steelers' defense was kind of getting back to, being really good, that was when the Killer Bees all left, slowly but surely. Because you had Le'Veon Bell. He held out, went to the Jets after that, and that kind of ruined his career. And then, of course, everything with Antonio Brown happened, and then Ben Roethlisberger retired. So if they could have had the defense the way it's been playing in recent years with the Killer Bees, I mean, this team could definitely go to the Super Bowl. But now, it's a transition period with their offense. Now it's a younger team. But you have a veteran at quarterback now in Russell Wilson. And if Russell Wilson turns back the clock, which I don't think is going to happen, then yeah, I mean, the Steelers have a chance to, go far, maybe. But I don't think you're getting that Russell Wilson. Now, could the Steelers at least maybe win a playoff game? Sure. I think so. I think that's fair to say. At least winning a playoff game. Not saying they're going to go far, just at least get out of the first round. They could do that. I think that's their ceiling for this year. So, but I don't really know what teams had this much interest in Patrick Queen, where he was saying, yeah, I'm not trying to be part of a rebuild. I want to win. And yeah, I mean, the Steelers, over the course of their history, yeah, they have been very successful. But in recent years, they haven't really been able to get it done. the last time they won a playoff game was back in 2016. It's been a long time. And they could end it this year, but I don't know if they're going to be able to. So it's going to be difficult. But if their offense is improved and T.J.Watt could stay healthy, yeah, maybe they could pull off an upset in the first round. Because I think they're going to come in, if they make the playoffs, they're going to go in as a wild card team. That's really what I think is going to end up happening. But, I mean, that's just my opinion on it. But linebacker's been a position that the Steelers needed to upgrade, and they're getting that with Patrick Queen. That only just makes the defense better. And I know, like, when they traded Deontay Johnson, they got Dante Jackson, a corner. I think the secondary's also been a little bit of an issue for them for years. So they're trying to improve that. Linebacker, like I said, has been an issue. Or inside linebacker. So, I mean, the defense is going to be really good. And the defense, the other thing, too, is the defense could score points. I mean, you go back to, the game against the Browns on Monday night, early on in the season. They had 2 defensive touchdowns. That defense can score points on their own. And that's great when you have a defense that could score points. That takes some pressure off your offense. Now, obviously, realistically, they're not always going to do that. But, T.J. Watt's had some defensive touchdowns in his career. I mean, Minka Fitzpatrick with the pick sixes that he's had. Yeah, defense is good. But the offense also has to be competent. And I think the offense will be okay. But in the AFC, okay is not good enough. And they play in the toughest division in football. So it'll be interesting. Now, like I've been saying, I don't want to rush the summer because I do want to see games played. I want to see how a lot of these guys that have changed teams, how they're going to do. I want to see how Russell Wilson does in Pittsburgh, Kirk Cousins in Atlanta. See Aaron Rodgers in Take Two now with the Jets. There's a lot of, and all these running backs that change teams, how are they going to do? I'm excited for it, but I just, don't want to rush the summer away. As we're getting towards June. But yeah, definitely some interesting stuff from Patrick Queen. Like I said, I only scratched the surface when it came to the teams that were interested in him, but I guess the Steelers were his best chance of winning from the teams that, were interested. So, but yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it when it comes to that. Let me know what you guys think about what Patrick Queen had to say. What are your expectations for him and the Steelers going into 2024? But yeah, that's pretty much it for the show for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to check out all the other shows as well. Greatly appreciate that. Again, I apologize for some of the technical issues throughout. But it is what it is. It happens, and bearing with me while I try to overcome this cold. But yeah, like I said, make sure to check out all the other shows. And yeah, that is all the time that we have for today. Once again, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back again tomorrow, same time, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And until then, I'm Kenneth Grunfelder signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Take care.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great.